एक camper naal, and I do use the word camper in vaste because he actually started in this camp as a camper, and today he's one of the directors who's directing the other campers. So basically we see a chain going on here where once being a part of this camp, a kid who was involved in everything, and now here he is knowing all the tricks of what the kids are doing. With that, I introduce the camper who's now the doctor of the camp, Sandeep Singhji. Sat Sri Akal.
Waheguru Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
So Sandeep, tell me, you've been coming here, I don't want to use the word forever, but since the camp has been around, you've been around. So how does that feel? Ki tusi camper sige and now here you are directing the other kids.
It's rather amazing, the fact that I feel like I've been here since the beginning, which is true. Camp for me is it played a huge role in my life, and still does. Camp for me was transformational. I first started coming in 1979 when I was about 11 years old, 10 and a half years old, and at that time I was searching for my way, if you will. We had moved from a very small town in Ohio to Connecticut, my parents, myself and my sister, and at that time there wasn't a lot of Sangat where we lived, so coming to camp was really my first experience with Sangat. And to see other kids living the life of Sikhi, living the life whereby which they were able to walk the path of the Guru and not feel intimidated by their peers or by their surroundings, inspired me tremendously, and in fact to the extent that it made me who I am today. So I think that camp for me was a huge changing point in my life.
Now, there's a very strong word, Sandeep, you know, to say that it's been a changing point in your life. Seeing where you were, where you are now, you know, you go through this yourself every year when you see these kids here, teaching them, seeing the things that they're doing. How does it feel? Do you feel that what you've learned from them, because I don't want to use the word, because to see you were one of the first campers here. Okay, you were learning what auntie, uncles and everyone was teaching you. You didn't have the older kids to look up to, so to speak. And correct me if I'm wrong, please. Now, seeing what it was to where it is today and how these kids are learning from the older generation down, how does that feel? There was quite a bit of, I had my share of role models at the time, specifically Livleen Singhji, Sandeep Singh and Jasleen Didi. Okay. So, you know, the role models that we had then are still in place today. They haven't gone anywhere from that perspective as far as my thought process is concerned. But back then as well, we were living in a very different time. We were living in a time whereby which it was very difficult to stand out. Nowadays, I feel that our appearance and our outer form is much more accepted than it had been, and we're more concentrating on building the inner character, so to speak, or the inner Sikh, so to speak. The outer Sikh is I won't say take it for granted by any stretch, but it's become much more accepted, and the kids actually have less of a challenge to keep it. It's still a challenge, don't get me wrong, but it's less so. So as far as role models are concerned, the role models have transformed over the years, and back then, you know, we also had a very specific role model comes to mind, not so much in terms of what I learned from him, but really more of just what I picked up from seeing him. There was an American Sikh by the name of Livleen Singhji, who was a very tall, very powerful figure, who I remember walked into camp at one point unannounced with a shield on his back, pura vaddi Siri Sahib kirpan, full dada, dressed as what I thought in my mind was the picture of a Sant Sipahi. It was as though Guru Sahib had walked onto camp, the image of. And that image has been burned into my memory, and I really think that was something that I at that point wanted to aspire to. So, you know, I realized is that all my experiences, my role models, whether they were direct or indirect, had a big impact on me, and I realize that now teaching these kids that no matter how small the issue, no matter how small the conversation, no matter how small our interaction, you know, because for 200 kids being here, it's difficult to spend a lot of time with each and every one of them. So we try and spend as much time with as many of them as we can. But I realize and I recognize that whatever time we spend with them is important because they pick up on little things. They appreciate and they can actually assimilate from even the most minor of interactions. So from that perspective, I think I've seen where I've come from and how I've learned from my role models, and have hopefully kind of turned that around, and we're trying to inspire other kids to do the same.
Well, Camp Chardi Kala de almost sare directors naal te ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਲੇਤੀ ਉਜਾਗਰ ਅੰਕਲ ਜੀ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੈਂਪ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ. Now we're looking for Livleen Singhji, the man who's running this show behind the scenes. Of course, ਉਹ ਇੰਨੇ busy ਨੇ that to track him down for even 5 minutes is impossible. So we're trying to see कि इस campsite te where can we get him and how we can get in touch with him ताकि 2 मिनट ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਕੇ we want you to know about how these things really work. So, oh wait, I see him here. I see him right here. Good, good, good. Sat Sri Akal, Livleen Singhji. Waheguru Ji ki Fateh. Good, good. How are you? Why don't we get a few words with you?
Sure.
Well, Sat Sri Akal, Livleen Singhji. Thank you, Waheguru Ji ki Fateh. Thank you for letting us be here and capturing these moments of Camp Chardi Kala. Thank you. It's a pleasure for us. Well, why don't we go around? You show us the campsite.
Sure.
And tell us a little about this camp. Is ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਚ ਅਸੀਂ of course ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਵੀ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਚਾਹਾਂਗੇ. ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਦੇ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰਸ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ, ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟਰਸ ਨਾਲ actually. ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਫਾਦਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ. So now we want you to tell us a little about Camp Chardi Kala. You grew up with this camp. You've really a camp ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਫਾਦਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ. So tell us about this.
I actually went to the first camp in 1977 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And we've been involved ever since then, and involved in more than just participating. We were helping Dad with all the paperwork, helping, with all the numbers and taking care of things, organizing. So it's been a long-term involvement outside of just being a camper.
Livleen Singhji, मैं तानू एक और गल पूछनी चाहांगी, which I find very interesting, and it has caught my attention. ਅਸੀਂ American campsite ਤੇ ਹਾਂ, okay? We're on American campgrounds, but the most beautiful thing I see is कि ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਹੈਗਾ. Tell me
How?
How? I'm so amazed, and it's so beautiful.
It goes to the essence of what we're doing. We're showing the kids that you can be in America. You can live the life of an American. You can be a Yankee fan, a Met fan, but at the same time, you can live as a Puran Gursikh. You can live as an Amritdhari Gursikh, and you can live in America, and you can stand here with the Nishan Sahib, where the American flag is supposed to be, right?
It is a sense of pride when you see it.
Oh, it's huge. The kids love it. They get a real kick because they expect to see the American flag.
Exactly.
And instead, they're seeing Nishan Sahib, and to them, it's such a feeling of pride.
Yeah.
And that's part of our approach, is that to give the children a sense that, Sikhi is something to be proud of.
Exactly.
It's not something that they have to be concerned about and how they're going to deal with it. We help them through the process.
Yeah.
But the pride is amazing.
The pride
As you can see in Nishan Sahib.
I was just going to say, it's amazing.
Oh,
if anyone wants to experience and have chills and goosebumps, I think that is an experience to go through.
It really sends chills down your spine.
It absolutely does. And it's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. And every time you look, you don't get tired of looking at it. Every time you look at it, it's always, wow.
Yeah,
right?
it is. It's
always that feeling of, wow, look at that.
Yeah.
We're here where the American flag is supposed to be, and instead Nishan Sahib.
Livleen Singhji, camp ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ